This is Rating Descending.
where we watch IMDb's worst What 250 so you don't have to.
I'm Michelle St. Clair.
I'm Abigail Ward.
And this week we watched Piranha 3D. After the events at Lake Victoria, the prehistoric school of bloodthirsty piranhas make their way into a newly opened water park. Let's watch. You're so good at it.
No, I'm not really that good at it. I can tell I'm getting it wrong.
No.
There's that one girl on TikTok that is fantastic at it. She's from Tassie because you can see how beautiful Hobart is behind her.
You just got to practice. Practice now. Give me the news. Break some news.
In breaking news today, the Soul Baby from IMDb has captured 3 more civilians. I'm going to Mark Stefanovic now for an update.
Oh, back at you. What did you say your name was?
I said I'm going over to Mark.
Back at you, Marsha. Yeah, I'm here from IMDb HQ. I can't go inside. IMDb Boss Baby has blocked off the entrance to all people coming in.
Yes, Mark, and I hear there's protesters out the front of the building.
Yes, they're out the front protesting. Ironically enough, or sorry, not ironically, but oddly enough, they're not protesting for the release of the hostages. They're protesting in favour of IMDb Boss Baby, demanding that the government gives him more.
Michelle, I think we're breaching on something too relevant.
Yeah, that's a little true. I shouldn't have used the term hostages. It's a little too true to what's happening in the real world.
I think this is now bumming me out.
That's fair. IMDb Boss Baby has left the building entirely. He's turned into a dragon in the sky, something that has no real-world political context.
Mark, I love where you're going with this. And how is the dragon faring now?
The dragon is flying through the sky as fast as I've ever seen him, mostly doing loop-de-loops.
Wow, loop-de-loops.
That's true. Loop-de-loops. He seems to be leaving a message for us in the sky. I'll tell you what it says as it comes. I am a boss baby. This is information we already knew. I demand more snacks. This makes sense. He is a baby.
Wow, thanks for that, Mark. Now, cutting across to a new segment tonight, I have chlamydia.
Yeah!
Is that my chlamydia?
Yeah!
I've got news reports that the dragon has swallowed Mark.
Masha!
But back to my chlamydia.
Hi, it's me, Chlamydia. Reporting to you live from Abigail's genitalia.
And what's the status down there?
Warm, but a little dry.
Chance of showers ahead when I get home tonight.
I'd say pretty heavy chance.
Thanks, chlamydia. We could do this all night.
We could do this all night. You know what? Why not? Why continue to have an opening?
Also, why do I not talk like that all the time?
I don't know. I think you should. There's
something really smooth about it. You know, maybe I could have had a real career because my voice is a bit sore today.
Yeah.
That was very easy to talk like that. I feel like I could have had a really promising career in the news.
It's soothing. It's your vocal warm up is to speak as an ABC News presenter.
Good night.
That's good.
Moving over.
Well, speaking of moving over, let's just get right into it. This week we watched Piranha 3D.
Well, sure we did, Michelle. I'm not going to be able to stop.
I said we're moving on.
Sorry.
Abigail, look at me.
Sorry.
Look at me.
I am.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Was.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. If you speak in the newscaster voice once again, I'm going to fucking lose it.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to lose it.
Well, what does that entail? Like, will you physically hurt me?
What we have right now,
yeah,
I won't know where it is. It'll be lost. It'll be gone.
It doesn't sound like the consequences are as bad for me as they are for you.
You're not thinking about how expansive I'm making this. This moment, this connection we have, the good connection that we have, I'll have lost it.
But like temporarily or forever? Because sometimes you lose it and then you're like, you're fine.
Depends on if we find it again.
Well, we might then.
How good are you at looking?
I'm quite good.
I've lost it.
There it is. You found it.
Oh, well, that wasn't so bad
Wasn't
after
so
all.
bad.
All right. Well, moving on. I feel obliged to mention up front as just like a hard pivot.
Sure.
I didn't watch Piranha 3D, something I didn't realize this was a sequel to.
Well, yeah, I've got a lot of questions about the franchise,
sure.
if that's okay,
Ask
because
away.
I'm confused.
Ask away.
Firstly, so there was a... Oh, God.
You got this. You got this. Work through it. Work
Thanks.
through it.
I last episode, I actually vomited a bit of bile into my mouth while you were talking.
What the fuck?
You missed it.
I did. Well, because you didn't say anything.
Well, you were talking.
This is such growth from you. You can't whisper this as if I'm going to cut it out. This is a huge growth for you.
Well, anyway.
I'm gonna put the Sonic the Hedgehog getting a new life music right here because this is such an achievement.
Thank you. I'm leveling up.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm stronger for the boss baby if I'm leveling up?
Yes. You now are stronger.
Every burp that I don't make audibly, I level up.
That's your
and I get
EXP
stronger.
so that you will be able to level up and eventually take on Boss Baby in what I imagine will be the finale.
Will I grow in size as I level up?
But a small amount.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to the film. Okay, so my question was, back in the day, maybe like a year or two ago, you and I were thinking of Halloween bonus films, and we decided that we were going to watch Piranha 2 from the 80s.
Yes.
So my understanding is that there was the Piranha franchise in the 70s and 80s, and then now there's another Piranha franchise, which was this one. But then what was the one before it?
So...
Is this the third of the new franchise?
No, this is not the third of the new franchise.
When did the new franchise begin?
So the whole thing, in 1978, Roger Corman produced a Joe Dante directed comedy horror film called Piranha. Then in 1982, as we watched, James Cameron's directorial debut was Piranha 2, The Spawning.
Well, also my question is, was Piranha, the first one, was it intended to be a satire of Jaws? Because that's what I remember from Piranha 2.
I mean,
I thought it was.
I mean, 1978, the window between it and Jaws is...
But I mean, that's when satires come out, right? Right in that, like, as soon as it drops, they're like, what can we do? How can we jump on this?
Oh, no, sorry. Jaws came out in 1975. I thought Jaws came out a little later. So, yes, it was, actually, looking it up. Yeah, it was, fully.
Yeah.
Like, it's an intentional comedy thing. Yeah, Piranha 2, like I said, we watched it. We ended up not doing it because we thought Howling 2 would be funnier, and we were absolutely right.
We really were. And so how many more of the original franchise were there?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
There's
That's
then
just the two.
a remake in 1995, directed by Scott P. Levy.
Okay.
People didn't care about it, really.
Yeah.
Then in 2010... Piranha 3D, directed by Alexandre Aja, or Aja, depending on how it's pronounced, I'm not sure, was released, and two kind of good reviews. It's also like comedy. It's both like a spoof in general, but also sort of the original Piranha. It's that sort of murky territory of spoof. This then is the sequel to that.
Territory of spoof.
Murky
Sounds like a
territory of
euphemism.
spoof. I sound like a cum sommelier.
Yeah, truly. Spoof just sounds like splooge.
It does.
I splooged.
I spoofed.
Dude, if I had a dick, I'd call it splooge every time.
Spoof
Do you mind if I splooge in you?
Yeah, well, I mean...
Get a splooge.
I did, you know?
Yeah.
I still do.
Yeah.
It's pretty tempting. So this is a sequel to that and the last in the Piranha franchise. No one was really that interested in making another Piranha after this one.
Okay. All right.
Does that get you up to speed?
Yes. So in total, there's 5 films.
In total, there's 5.
Yeah.
But
this was the last
it's
one.
more like there's 2, then a remake, then another remake, and then a sequel to that.
Yeah, okay. And so this one came out in 2012.
This came out in 2012.
And then...
Piranha 3D came out in 2010.
Okay.
This one was also released in 3D. It was also the only one of the two filmed in 3D.
Right.
Piranha 3D was filmed in regular and then they in post made it 3D.
It explains why there's so many shots of a piranha coming right at you in the screen, and it's never fun. It's not because it's scary.
I mean,
it's just like
there's one where it's a loose tin can that flies at the screen. It's really quite abysmal choices.
You can tell when things are shot as a 3D film because you're like, no one ever would have done this if they didn't expect it to fly out of the screen.
Yeah, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, my problem is because this is a sequel to the remake, I had no idea what they were referring to with a bunch of characters. Like Chris Lloyd was obviously in the first one.
Chris Lloyd, Ving Rhames, and Paul Scheer were all in the first one.
Ving Rhames was really fun, I have to say.
I do think he did a good job.
He lifted this film up.
He and Cher both were kind of killing it.
Yeah.
Like at first when they were in it, I was like, oh no, I really like both of them. And then, no, you know what? They were
kind of saved the ending of it. Yeah. It got better once they were in it.
Chris Lloyd, I think, also was doing his best.
Yeah.
You know,
he always does.
Yeah.
He was in. What was he in?
Hey, I'll get to it. Let's just get into the key details, so I won't leave you in suspense.
Please.
So, as we just said, this came out in 2012. It's directed by...
Terrible vintage, by the way.
Terrible vintage.
We were both in our last years of high school.
Yeah.
When she was listening, there's a scene of where one of the characters is listening to headphones with like proper, wired cord headphones.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the way she was dressed and I was like, this is giving me weird flashbacks to a very bad time.
Yeah.
We were like 17 and it was the worst.
It was the worst.
Yeah.
It was directed by John Gulager, who also directed, is more known for directing Feast 2, Sloppy Seconds, and Feast 3, Happy Finish.
All of that is all... None of that could be real. Someone wrote that for a comedy film. Do you want to watch Feast 2, Sloppy Seconds?
I actually have seen Feast 2, Sloppy Seconds.
Have you really? Why?
Yes, because a friend I had in high school, one of the few, he had a different unrelated friend who then this friend dragged me along to this other friend to his house because he had apparently a good Blu-ray setup and stuff. Whilst there, this guy, this absolute quiet, shy, sort of dorky guy who did have a giant TV and huge big surround sound setup and stuff.
Yeah.
His dad was so excited about it and so animated and so domineering in the conversation that I got a lot of context that I didn't need about this guy and his relationship to his dad and why he is the way he is.
Yeah, and sounds like his dad's a bit
much.
A bit much.
Maybe
a bit on the spectrum even.
Potentially.
He's so jazzed up about his sound system.
He was really jazzed up about it. He was also really jazzed about his Blu-ray collection.
He's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
Sweaty.
And all of his his horror collection. And he was so excited that we were just stopping over and he insisted on putting on Feast 2, Sloppy Seconds, one of his favorite movies.
What is Feast 1 about?
Just these big kind of ghouly creatures eating a bunch of guys, really.
And then Feast 2, I imagine, is a very similar premise.
It answers all of the unanswered questions from Feast 1,
Yeah.
It's... It was not great. And I remember there's this one bit where one of the characters introduces himself. It does a weird mockumentary thing at times when characters introduce themselves. And it cuts to a vignette of them talking. And one guy's a used car salesman who's talking about prices. And he's like, always slash the prices. Slash, lickety slash. And then the dad repeated it. He was so jazzed and excited about it. It's a very odd experience. And that's why it's stuck in my memory so vividly.
He subjected a group of young teenagers to watch Feast 2 Sloppy Seconds.
Yeah, but I never saw the happy finish.
I think you can get one up the road for about $15.
Hey, that's all the time we have, folks.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
We're here every week. This movie was starring Danielle Panabaker, who was driving me insane until I looked it up. I recognized her from Sky High.
I don't remember anything from Sky High.
Wow.
Yeah. Who was she in Sky High?
She was the sort of Poison Ivy stand-in who is then sort of weird at the end. I remember that movie a lot, but I think a lot of that is just to do with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, especially because she plays... She does a dual... She seems like a friend of theirs, and then there's the villain who is very mask-coded, and then at the end takes their mask off, and it is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And obviously that would do a lot for me, you know? As well as it's starring David Kushner and Matt Bush. And that means returning actors, David Kushner. If you asked me last week how many movies he's been in, I would say this is his fourth one. He was only in the comebacks. This is his first time.
I don't think we've encountered him that much. Yeah.
I think it's just that he's my least favorite part of every movie he's in.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He always I was thinking about Anchorman and I was like, he was probably the worst of all of them, of the main cast in Anchorman as well. You know, out of the four main guys, he's the least funny.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. When you're up against Paul Rudd and Steve Carell, it's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But also returning actor Katrina Bowden was in movie 43. She was Cerie in 30 Rock.
Yeah. I spent the whole film being like, why is she so familiar? And I only figured it out at the end.
Yeah.
Because for the first half, I was like, is she the lost daughter of Christine Taylor? The
oh my God.
wife of Ben Stiller? She looks so much like her.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've clearly seen her before, but it's obviously not Christine Taylor. And then I figured it out.
Yeah. And it also... Chris Zilka was in Shark Night 3D. He's the blonde cop guy who kind of has a Tom Cruise smile, by which I mean sociopathic.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lloyd, who was in Food Fight.
Oh, of course he was.
So he's he's an all-star, kind of, because Food Fight was technically a replacement that we did because we couldn't get an Esbatur.
It's not on the list. It's not
It's not truly on the list.
No, but yeah, you're right.
It has the ratings
it's
to be.
1.5, you know? That's a 1.5.
Yeah.
In terms of appearances.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
He appeared on the list 1.5 times.
Yes. Yeah.
The budget for this was 7.5 million. It made 8.5.
Fuck.
So depending on marketing,
Yeah.
Notably though, I found this, and I'm going to say it now instead of in trivia. It made only like domestic in the US, which Americans care about a lot. Like they care about domestic a lot more than they care about international for a variety of reasons. It only made $376,000.
What?
95% of the film's box office came from overseas, and it was particularly popular in Malaysia.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Also, like I feel like the box office would have been really tough. It had so much nudity that I feel like all the kids that would have gone to see it wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if this was like an unrated version or if that's just what this movie is like, but I know what you mean.
I've never seen more pairs of tits in one sitting than in this film.
So many pairs of tits, so much full puss.
Full puss. I was actually shocked at one point. I was like, whoa, there's that shot of that woman like getting into a pool. And I was like, her pussy's fully out.
Yeah.
Is that allowed? There was a lot of bare asses and bare pussy. And like, it was a very sexual film. It was so sexual.
We see testicles and dick, not at the same time, oddly enough.
Yeah. Was it sexualized?
No.
Never.
No.
Never. They did the Game of Thrones. We'll fix the fact that we sexualize every female character by showing you one flaccid, diseased cock, and then we fixed it.
Yeah. They're going like, hey, look, oh, it's a dig. It's so gross. And it's like,
anyway, let's show
the same
5
thing.
pussies dancing around him in that scene as well. Because that's literally what they did. I hate it. But it's also like, it's hard to complain about things that are just, I know that they could claim like, well, we're just satirizing all of the horror films that do this. Because there's some bits where you're like, this is genuinely silly and ridiculous.
Yeah.
But also, it'd be like complaining like, it's like if someone said something outwardly just dead set racist, like the whites are the greatest race on earth, you would be like, I can't even be bothered to respond to that because it's so outrageously racist that there's no reason to fight it. And then with this film, I was like, this is just so outrageous, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, I had a revelation when I was like going through a TikTok comment. Don't ask me why. Where like, you know, sometimes you see those things and you're like, what the fuck? And then it was just like someone talking about like, oh, well, that's because queer people are just a like Western invention that like, and that's part of colonization. I was like, oh, you're one of those. I don't need to engage with this. That's crazy. And
you
just
get to a bit where you're like, that is so deluded, I can't be bothered to engage. But what is?
There's nothing to engage with. It's like, that's just nonsense.
Exactly. But then sometimes if someone has this like weird nuanced take where it's like it's deceptive how they're being problematic, then that's when I get really riled up. But
I don't mean this just in the sense that if I say it in the way that I want to phrase it, someone will correct me. And what I'm actually doing is I want someone to correct me, because the only example I can think of off the top of my head of someone doing the like tits out naked people, it's doing a spoof parody. The only, off the top of my head, the only time I can think of that working is in Jason X.
Which bit?
Where he's stuck in the hologram room, and then they make it Crystal Lake, and then there's the teenage girls who go, we're young and virginal. True. And I was like, that's kind of a good bit.
That's true. Because the problem is, I will say with this film, they have all of these naked women, full frontal nudity, doing a lot of shit, lots of tits, lots of puss, lots of ass.
Lots of puss.
And then the main character comes in and she's like, this is so problematic. This is so wrong. And while she's there saying that, all of the shots that they've got are really close up and framed in a certain way where it's not comedic, it is just sexual. So I'm like, you can't make a film where you're trying to make fun and satirize how over-sexualized horror films are by making just another one. Because now young men are watching this being like, this is so fucking hot. And you have continued the problem. You haven't addressed it and you haven't done anything to break the cycle. You furthered it. And therefore, what you did was useless.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying into it one fucking second.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Thanks, bitch. Give me some skin.
Yeah. I'll do the overview. I want to say now, because we don't normally do this on episodes like this, and we should. There's supreme violence in this, and we're going to talk about it. Like, we don't do as much as we should on the episodes like this, like just a general warning of like, hey, thus far we haven't. talked about it really, but after this, there's supreme violence. And we're going to engage with that until we get to the trivia, for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of violence. And some of it's really silly and weird. And then other bits are like really gory and disturbing.
Some of it genuinely made me feel really deeply upset.
Yeah.
All right, here's the overview. A year after the Lake Victoria Piranha Massacre, that's the events of the first movie, two farmers find piranha eggs laid inside a dead cow in Cross Lake, which promptly hatch and kill them. Maddie, a marine biology student, returns home for the summer to the water park she co-owns with her greedy, misogynistic stepfather, Chet.
Did they mention, by the way, where her mum is?
No.
Is she dead?
I have no idea.
Why does she co-own it and not her mum?
Maybe her mum's dead and that's why she co-owns it. That's the only
Must be. That's what I
reason
had
I
to
can
figure.
possibly
They
think
never
of.
even mention it. They didn't do an expositional line of, when my mother died, I really thought that you would so and so.
Maybe they did and we didn't notice because watching this movie is like being hit in the head with a hammer.
Yeah, it's a lot.
People begin to have dangerous encounters at the lake.
Yep. Good.
Leading
Perfect.
Maddie and her friends Barry and Kyle to take a piranha they find to marine expert Carl Goodman. They realize with Goodman that the piranha can break through steel barriers.
That's Chris Lloyd, right?
That's Chris Lloyd.
Yeah.
And worry the piranha can enter the water park from the lake. Kyle, who is a cop, is revealed to be taking bribes from Chet to keep quiet about the fact that Chet is illegally pumping water from an underground river into the park, giving the piranha an entrance. It's established earlier that the piranha have made it across lake via underground rivers. What was I up to? On opening day, the piranha attack the park while Maddie and Barry attempt to save who they can by draining the pools, with Barry saving Maddie when she's caught in the flow, despite Barry being unable to swim. Another worker at the park then fills the pipes with chlorine and a joint, exploding all the piranha within. That's the quickest I could try. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. There's
Very good.
weirdly a lot of plot elements.
Yeah.
Because there's 12 characters.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of romances and not romances, and it's good.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Wow, I really needed
Hey,
it.
man, you succeeded.
Thanks.
You did well.
I really appreciate
Except there was
that.
this one bit of it that I really didn't.
No.
I think you kind of fucked up a bit there.
Oh no. I can't handle this.
You got to give it to him and take it away.
Oh, me bones.
Oh, go
Me bones.
Oh, please,
Please, spirit. Have we even established me doing that joke on the podcast? I can't remember.
Potentially, I think we have, but you can tell them again if you'd like.
I'll save it for Christmas.
Yeah, you gotta, to be fair.
I got it. To be fair.
TBF.
Yeah, I was confused. This, by the way, because it had some of the actors from the first one, so because Chris Lloyd, Ving Rhames, and Paul Scheer, all of whom I was surprised when I saw them, and then when I realized they were in the first one, I was like, oh, I get it, because that one, again, critically, generally good.
Yeah,
Generally
and you
good.
could tell the cast seemed a lot better, considering those three were in it. And then this one was full of young, unknown kids, and Suri from 30 Rock.
Yeah, well, Suri from 30 Rock, and what's her name from Sky High? They're not
not
pulling from aces.
No.
Also, look, Suri from 30 Rock, what's her name? Katrina Bowden. She does some good bits. I wouldn't say her strength in that is her performance.
No.
And I think that is true here as well.
Yes. She's not the strongest actress.
Yes.
Suri was a really easy role to play.
Yes.
This, I needn't say more.
Yeah, I think we've made our point. This movie is ridiculous in a way that frustrates me because it's the whole thing with parody movies where when you want to critique something, they can just go but it's a joke. I'm like, yeah, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
Because the bit, for example, where they're at Danielle Panabaker and Katrina Bowden are at the jetty, and then the piranha
piranhas are
attack.
yeah.
The piranha are exploding the jetty.
They are so strong that heaving themselves out of the water and hitting the wood means that the planks of wood are fucking spinning
Flying
off.
into the air. They're shattering and exploding everywhere.
They're so strong.
Are just unbelievably strong. Now later it establishes that they can worm their way through steel. Somehow that felt more believable than exploding the jetty.
Yeah.
It's craziness.
I was actually eating in the scene where after that jetty bit they're on the
you made
shore.
my mistake.
Yeah, well, they were sitting on the shore and there's this piranha that launches out of the water at them and they have to beat it with a rock. And for some reason, watching a fish get beaten with a rock, I just find fish a bit icky in general. And I was like, this is making me feel queasy.
Yeah. I did not repeat my mistake that I made on Zombie Strippers, which was both dilating and eating while watching it.
Such an experience.
Don't do that. No. I did not learn my human centipede lesson of eating cold fettuccine while watching.
You were kind of human centipeding yourself in that respect. Sealing up one side of you and the other.
Yeah, no, I would. The sigh wasn't that I didn't understand.
Great.
Yeah. I'm at a loss of how to move forward.
You've given me a total mental blank.
You've just obliterated any ability I have to think about anything else.
Guess we got to wrap up then.
That's all the time we have.
See you later.
No, what's crazy about this movie is there's both so much I don't want to bother with and also so much to talk about.
May I?
Yeah, you may.
There was something I wanted to talk about explicitly was the scene where Siri's character, she has a fish in her guts.
Yeah.
And it's like an egg and it's growing and she's sick all the time. And then she's having sex with the guy.
I think it's in her uterus.
Yeah,
it has to be because she lives, so it can't be in her stomach and then it's wormed its way through.
And there's this bit where she's begging the guy to have sex with her.
Yeah,
and she's like,
because she thinks she's going to die.
Yeah, and then she's like, all I want. Does she say I want you to come in me?
Yes.
That is such a weird explicit line. She's like, I want you to come in me. Will you do that? I was like, what the fuck?
I guess if she thinks she's gonna die, she's like, there's no risk of pregnancy.
Yeah,
insane.
And then in that scene, they're having sex and the piranha eats his dick or latches onto his dick, and then he's forced to cut it off, and then
he's not forced to.
No, he's not. He just
does it.
I was like, why wouldn't you stab the fish first, man?
Yeah, he makes no attempt to remove the fish. He just cuts off his dick.
He just cuts off his dick, and then the fish later kind of spits the top of the dick out. It was gory.
The way that she's also like frothing and bleeding, she ends up surviving, but it's sort of a fake out death.
Yeah.
It's so grim. It's so like it's meant to be funny, but it's actually I found it really deeply upsetting.
It was deeply upsetting. It was
like in the Shark Night episode, the what's her name dying by getting eaten by all the little sharks, and it just felt really mean.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it. I really didn't like it at all.
Yeah, getting eaten by the little sharks was horrible.
Conversely, I liked Barry.
I liked Barry too.
I like Barry.
Even though he was the classic trope of, you know.
He's clearly had a crush on her for a long time, and compared to the big, strong cop, he's kind of dorky, you know?
I do like when he tells her his feelings and she's like, oh, I thought you were gay. And he's like, oh, okay. And then just runs off to keep fighting. I liked that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And I really like when Chris Lloyd's trying to show them the power of the piranha. And he
saves the frog.
He saves the frog.
Yep.
I like that because he was right. I was like, that's a good guy. That's a good thing to do. You 100%. Don't need to make the piranha eat the frog.
100%. No, I was actually kind of there for that romance between the two of them. As tropey as it was, I could get behind it.
Yeah,
I really could.
I think it didn't feel like it was just the boy and the girl in this are near each other and so now they're romantically attracted. I think it was actually set up.
Yeah.
It was established. Yeah. I think you see her develop feelings for him beyond just the trauma of being in a dangerous situation.
Fully. Like when she sees him, they hug because they've been longtime friends.
Yeah.
And they have a real affection for one another.
We see it because one of the things he does that establishes it is when he's read Chris Lloyd's book, and then she's like, you read a marine biology book? And then he was like, yeah, I wanted to see what you were so obsessed. Like,
it's so sweet.
That's sweet.
Green
that's
flags.
Genuine.
Green flags the whole way. Yeah. Fully.
I think in a romance off between him and Dustin Milligan in Shark Night 3D,
Ooh.
I think Barry takes it
100% because Dustin Milligan kind of had no character.
Yeah,
he didn't really.
I think
care
Dustin
enough.
Milligan was giving it his best to give it character. I don't think the script allowed him, whereas Barry kind of had a character.
Let's talk about the stepfather's death. When that was bizarre. Yeah, because he's right. What's he riding again? He's like
riding a little golf cart.
A little golf cart, and he's on a mission. And literally, this just string of plastic.
Yeah,
that is like a plastic banner.
Possibly have been held up with wire. It must be plastic.
It was just plastic from the look of it.
Even if it was wire, he's not going that fast.
No, he's going quite slowly, and he drives into the plastic, and the plastic cuts his head off.
Clean slice. It doesn't even go anywhere.
bizarre.
His head stays sitting there for a while.
Because that death to me, I was like, okay, well, this is where it like crosses that line of like, they really are trying to be ridiculous, but also they're not always trying to be ridiculous. But this was we're trying to be ridiculous when his head flies off and a topless woman covered in blood holds it and she's screaming. And as she's screaming, her tits are hitting his head and rubbing into
jiggling
them.
his face. Almost like here's his like last wish as he dies.
And she's going, ah! And I was like, well, this is crazy. And I can get behind it.
If they were crazy more in that way and less in fucking someone to death sort of way, I think I would have liked the movie more.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was just so insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe we've gone this long without at any point bringing up David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
Because we should talk about David Hasselhoff.
He was in this and he has that bond with the kid that's also called David. Who ends up dying in the end.
Who ends up dying as like the gag ending is that the kid gets eaten.
Yeah.
Kind of grim, kind of cruel in a way that I feel like was trying to do a bit of like, because then they all like are taking pictures of it.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the movie isn't about how we all just stand and watch. So the joke doesn't really work for me. And then he's like stupid ginger moron or something because he says that like 2 other times.
Yeah.
He said it a 3rd time.
Funny.
Thus, it's a joke.
Thus.
Except they didn't write a joke before the punchline.
No.
So they just said the same words.
No.
That's not the same thing as a joke.
I just don't find David Hasselhoff's appearances very exciting. Anytime I see them, I'm like, oh, it's him again.
The majority of them, like, there's this era.
He cameoing.
I can't tell if the SpongeBob SquarePants movie or SpongeBob SquarePants the movie, I can't tell if that was ushering in the era.
Or if it was just part of it.
Or if it was just part
I know what you mean. I've also pondered a similar thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I feel like there was an era where the joke is that David Hasselhoff is there.
Yeah.
Now, I think our generation can't truly appreciate his dominance on TV. I mean, Baywatch and what was the show with Kit? Was it Knight Rider? Knight Rider. That's 2 big shows.
That we were never privy to.
But like...
All we were privy to was SpongeBob the movie.
Yeah, that's like if Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I guess, was doing that. She was in Seinfeld and... Veep, I guess. Yeah. I mean, Veep wasn't as popular as Knight Rider. It's got to be 2 like network things. I don't know. Who's like a big network TV star?
That's been in 2 things.
That's been in 2 things. Who's been in 2 things?
At the same time?
Were they at the same time?
What?
Knight Rider and Baywatch.
I don't know.
Oh, then it doesn't have to be the same time.
Okay.
This is crazy. This should be easier, but I mean, I guess notably, it's hard.
This is my name a woman. I can't think of any.
Name a woman. It's gonna be the lead, like Rashida Jones. Sure, yeah, but like not really in the same way that as David Hasselhoff. Not to knock Rashida Jones, you know. Kristen Wiig. No, not Kristen Wiig. Kristen Bell. There we go. She's been in multiple things.
Yeah.
And people know her.
Yeah.
Right? What if in 20 years she just showed up?
Yeah.
I don't think kids would get it.
Yeah.
You know? And also, it outstays its welcome because David Hasselhoff, by this point, the world had already seen the footage of him very drunk in his home and then he drops a burger and then he eats it off the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just got terrible energy, terrible vibes. He's not a good actor. I don't find him charismatic or funny. So every time he shows up, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Well, because like in SpongeBob, the joke is that like he is that charming. He is that guy. And that I can buy. That's fun. In this, the joke is that he's washed up, kind of a hack. He doesn't really care anymore, which is fine. That's a funny bit. But you get the impression that that is David Hasselhoff. And it feels like David Hasselhoff isn't even really in on the joke.
Yeah.
Feels like they're laughing at him and he's like, you're paying me enough that I'll continue to show up.
Yeah.
And that just makes me sad.
Yeah, it's a bit sad.
But I do think in the post-credits, in like during the credits, how he gets like the song of Fish Hunter and stuff, that felt funnier. I think if he was in the movie for less time, like instead of just sitting in the lifeguard chair the whole time, he gets killed off.
Yeah.
But then we get the Fish Hunter bit. I think I would have liked his appearance more.
Yeah.
You know? Here's us punching up Piranha 3DD.
Oh yeah, we're really spending our time wisely.
Oh, that's right. No, the gag though that I think is funny is the 3 repeated zollies. Like when he's sitting in the lifeguard chair, and then the ginger kid who doesn't recognize him, and that makes Hasselhoff so warmed up to him. and then he's like screaming for help, and then Hasselhoff looks back and it like zollies in on him looking, and then he's like, just some kid, and then he screams again and he looks back again and it zollies again.
Yeah.
I thought that's a pretty
Visual
good joke.
gags.
That's pretty good.
Visual gags are good.
That's fun. Look, this is what we could keep going. Oh, I guess we could talk about the gun leg.
The gun leg was fun.
The gun leg was fun, but also it's not even the only gun leg I've seen in a movie, because they did it in Planet Terror as well. Did you ever watch that?
No.
That was the one that was paired with Death Proof for the whole like grindhouse with like Robert Rodriguez did Planet Terror and Tarantino did Death Proof. And Planet Terror was sort of more directly comedic in many ways, and Rose McGowan, at the end of it, like she loses her leg because it's like a zombie thing, and then she attaches a machine gun to it and then starts shooting everyone with it. I think that was more effective than this seems to be some sort of like narrow shotgun that barely has any ability to defeat fish in water.
I would say that the only part of this film that I laughed at was when he said, "Get my leg."
That was good.
I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
He was so earnest.
No, but then after he's like, I hate the water, or fuck the water. And then Paul Scheer goes, fuck the fish. He's like, I don't care about the water.
They were truly the highlight of the end of it.
Yeah, they were great.
Breath of fresh air.
You know what? Let's just get right into trivia.
Let's do it.
What are we doing here? What are we doing
nothing
here?
at all.
Like
Let's continue with our lives.
Yeah,
Let's go.
With a movie like this, where it's like it's a parody, but also it kind of really sucks, and it's the deaths in something like Hot Fuzz, which is comedic as well. The characters still go, they're having genuine human reaction, even when it's like darkly funny, and like Peter Jackson does that in like Brain Dead and stuff. What are we doing here? You know?
Let's go.
I'm go. I've already played the music.
Let's go.
We're here. All right. Trivia.
Hurry up.
Fine. John Gulager wrote the 2 songs that David Hasselhoff sings in the movie.
Great.
Isn't that fun?
Fab.
Are you happy with that?
I'm so happy.
You satisfied that we're moving?
Oh, I'm so satisfied.
Filming was intended to start in January 2011 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Why Baton Rouge?
Probably tax incentives.
Wow. I just can't think of one film that's been filmed there. I really can't.
Wounds.
Was Wounds built? Was that filmed there? I thought that was New Orleans.
Oh, I'm just thinking of Louisiana.
Yeah.
You're right. Oh, who knows?
No, I mean,
this movie was made for $7 million. Like, they're going to take what they can get. With the release date in August that year, however, it quickly became apparent that the weather was simply too cold in that location for that time of year for a cast mainly wearing swimwear. Which I wrote down because I kind of appreciated that they made that decision, because I've read plenty of trivia of other things of the cast were freezing because
and
it was
no one
winter.
gave a shit. Yeah.
According to the director of the first movie, he had intended for the sequel to take place in Thailand with a much larger piranha attack in the third act of the film during a major festival, which I feel like is knowing that this film will sell well in Southeast Asia, I guess.
Yeah.
Given that it ended up selling well in Malaysia.
They knew their market.
You know, I'm going to read this as it's written. That's director John Gulager's feat in the shot showing Big Dave, Adrian Martinez, stepping in a puddle of Shelby's, Katrina Bowden's, vomit.
I found that shot really weird because they played this ominous music over it. She vomits and then he jumps in it, and it's like also meant to be ominous. It's bizarre.
I don't think the jumping in is meant to be ominous. It's
know,
the way that he's like
vocal...
morning sickness, but then it's like, no, it's not.
But it had the same like musical note as when she vomited. It was like, and then
it's
like
just, it's just continuing.
No. It stopped and started.
No, I know, but it's like a Jaws, and then there's a pause, and then it does it again.
That's why it felt
continuing.
Ominous.
Yeah, it's continuing.
Yes.
This was the music continue. Those moments happen very close together.
Yes.
It's the one music cued by "It's not morning sickness, baby."
Are you trying to convince me?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we saying different things or the same thing?
Maybe I'm confused.
Let's do reviews.
Sure. I'm so confused.
It doesn't matter. The stakes couldn't be lower.
No, they really couldn't be.
Reviews! All right. This has 12% on Rotten Tomatoes and 3.7% 3.7 on IMDb. Did we say last week Regia BVD is 3.7 on IMDb? I wanted to forget it as quickly as possible. Ben Rawson Jones of Digital Spy said that this was Double dire, deflated, and desperate. It is so far beyond redemption on every level that not even a gamely, self-mocking supporting turn by David Hasselhoff can make a difference. And then I took later from the review. I read the whole review he wrote, and it's really quite good. Read you know what? In isolation of the movie, read his review on Digital Spy. It's really good. You'd think that lines like, Josh cut off his penis because something came out of my vagina would provide some melodramatic impact or camp humor, but the execution is so abysmally poor that such moments are botched. The direction and editing is so poor, so incoherent, that there is no visceral or dramatic impact when a piranha swims out of a young woman's vagina while she is in the process of losing her virginity. It's brutal as a review.
Yeah.
But here's one from IMDb titled...
Ooh.
What the hell was that? It was not a burp. What the hell?
What's going on?
Hilarious, campy fun for true horror fans. And it's by Clown Baby 06006.
Cousin of Boss Baby.
Cousin, yeah. That's his nephew. You know how, like, because, Boss Baby has babies of his own by this point. You know, that thing, the trust fund kid... one of his sons just became a clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real drop kick.
Yeah. Guy just smokes weed all day and then clowns
now
for
he thinks
like
he wants
2
to be
hours.
A filmmaker.
Just jerking off, you know.
Get a real
Whatever,
job.
man. I sort of get the low rating because in a way it's sort of silly and ridiculous, but it's exactly what it says it is. It's a fun, campy horror movie with tons of laughs and blood. I don't understand why all the sheep and lemmings see a movie like this and then are all like, it's stupid. No, you are stupid for not comprehending that the movie's intention is to be stupid fun. Go watch Wes Anderson's newest lame film or whatever indie film is now cool to talk about at your boring dinner parties. This movie is not for you. Stop watching my awesome horror movies and complaining about them. This movie is exactly what it sets out to be. No more, no less. You're the same people who gave Anaconda such a low rating, yet it is still beloved 25 years later. Go away. 10 out of 10.
Wow, there's a lot of passion in that review.
There is. And I will say it's two things. One, I don't know what it is about dinner parties that seems to get people so irate. It's just friends having dinner. Also, you are just able to, you don't have to be influenced at all by whether other people like or dislike something that you like or dislike.
Yeah.
It's okay.
The chip on this person's shoulder could not be deeper.
Other people disliking something doesn't prevent you from watching it.
I do hate it when people have dinner parties, though. I just know that they're mocking me.
Fucking dinner party liberals.
They're making fun of me and my interests.
I bet they sip on lattes, soy lattes at their dinner parties.
Why would they be sipping on lattes at a dinner party?
I'm just trying to combine.
What about a Chianti or like a Sangiovese wine?
I don't think a guy like this knows what that is.
Well, that's the chip on his shoulder.
There we go.
Yeah.
Here's another one. An excellent Saturday DD night. Sorry, I'll say it probably the way it was meant to be said. An excellent Saturday double D night by Tab Jeep. Well, don't mind the IMDb reviewers rate. Well, don't mind the IMDb viewers rate because this movie had it all if it weren't for a little spineless script. Nevertheless, this is a great movie for a Saturday night with a bunch of friends, pizza, and beer. Hilarious it is, if you asked me. It's just good. It's just a good old horror film, which means, 1, who gives a shit about the script? If I wanted a good horror script, I'd have watched 7 or maybe the first 2 Saw again. 2, all sizes of tits. That covers even the most demanded. 3, hilarious horror scenes. A girl giving birth to a piranha that instantly eats a man's penis. I mean, what the fuck? Great symbolism. 4, lol for D. Hasselhoff appearance. DH, man, I am a lifeguard after all. Smiley face with 2 brackets and then a square bracket, which is unrelated. 5, the agony of the protagonist because of the lack of acting is just unbearably funny. Wait. What? The agony of the protagonist because of the lack of acting is just unbearably funny.
Still doesn't make sense.
Wait, the agony of the protagonist because of the lack of acting is just unbearably funny. I think it's trying to be like them in agony, but they're bad at doing it.
Is unbearably funny.
Is funny.
Uh-huh.
To sum up with, don't miss it. Find a couple of friends with a great sense of humor and enjoy a great Saturday night. 10 out of 10.
Oh, man.
It's got all sizes of tits. And here's the last one I have. I used to be a troll like you, but then I got a Piranha 3DD to the knee by S_all_assassin.
That is such a niche internet reference.
Yeah, it really is.
That was, what
But
is
also-
it, like
but also
15 years old?
Not niche enough.
10. Yeah.
Because this was written in like 2012.
Yeah.
But just not doesn't make sense the
No.
way it's been
Yeah.
used. People get trolled every day over the internet. I get the feeling that this is someone trolling, but I just couldn't comprehend it either way.
Okay.
People get trolled every day over the internet. They get trolled in Facebook. They get trolled in YouTube comments. They get trolled in blogs. Some even get trolled from their friends on a Skype call. But watching this movie offers you the privilege of being one of the first people that got brutally trolled from the movie industry. It's a start of a new era, and I'm proud I was a part of it. And then this is in brackets. Content in here serve only extra line purposes in order for this review to be submitted. I don't understand why my review has to be consisted of at least 10 lines, since there are movies that can be fully described and reviewed in less lines. Doesn't make sense, but whatever. Damn, I need a few lines. Yes, well, let's see. If trolls lived in the water, they would be piranhas, and I would be all of the victims of Piranha 1 and 2 together. That's the feeling this movie left me with. I think I'm done with lines. 10 out of 10.
Since when has there been a 10 line?
There isn't.
There isn't.
There
No.
isn't.
We've read so many reviews that are like 5 words.
That's why I'm like, is that trolling? I don't know what that is.
Surely.
But I had to read it out.
Yeah.
I had to uncover what the fuck was going on there. Just someone
was a
not
lot.
understanding an interface.
That was a lot.
I know that was a lot, but what was your review?
I didn't have the worst time. You know what I loved? All of a sudden I was like, well, I'm 57 minutes into this film and it feels like we're wrapping up. And we were. And I feel like really it ended like, what, an hour and 15 in? Like, honestly, it barely went for any time. And that's a huge tick for me.
That is always a big tick
reclaimed
for
a
you.
bit of time today.
Yeah. That is always a particular win for you.
There's the blatant sexism, but then they'll also try and tell you that it's not sexist because they were trying to satirize it. There was the gore, which some of it felt really unnecessary. Then there was the fact that they sequeled a remake, which just makes me angry. My goodwill towards this is very low, I have to say. But I liked Barry.
Yeah, I did like Barry.
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah,
Wow.
out of 10.
Now, I'm having a hard time because on the one hand, I'm with you in that Barry was fun. And there were bits, that were okay. I watched this and last week's episode at a similar time. So my mind can only draw a comparison. And I actually think I had a worse time watching this.
Yeah.
I had more moments of visceral discomfort, as well as I did have like a moment halfway through where I was like, we're at the end, right? And then because it was like right at opening day and there's like 40 minutes left, I was like, there can't possibly be 40 minutes left.
What?
Oh, no, yeah, there's so much time. Like I was like, how is there possibly that much time left?
I had the opposite where I was like, wow, we're already almost finished. And I'm like an hour in.
I just really wanted it to be over, maybe is the thing. I
don't think I hate gore as much as you, like violent, just, bloody gore.
Well, I get sensitive to it, and it's very specific because we've watched things that are more violent. Like I love The Thing, which is incredibly like gory, but there's some tones of it. It's all about the tone of the gore for me. And something like The Thing or whatever. Again, when it's like presented as horrifying, I can like sink into it.
Yeah.
And then in things like this, where I'm like meant to be like taking pleasure from how like fucked up it is, I really don't like it. I find it really upsetting. I actually might rate this lower.
Wow.
Than Richard B54. I
Wow.
think this was a 1 point. I'll make it just. It's a 1.9 for me.
Nice.
It's not quite a movie. It's almost a movie. It's
Yeah.
not quite a movie.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, thanks.
Good stuff.
Well, if you want to find other good stuff, you could always follow us on social media. You could find us on Twitter or X at Rate Descend Pod. You can find us on... Wait, what? TikTok. You can find us on TikTok at Rating Descending. You can find us on YouTube at Rating Descending. Or you could email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. I love the emails.
Or you could find us on our personal accounts. Once again, we need to fix this. What should I say here instead?
Say whatever you want. Do you want to plug something? Do you want to just like talk about... Maybe they should follow someone else. Who do you like?
Oh, I don't know. We'll figure something out. because I think I need to replace this whole section anyway.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And I'm not really on social media anymore, but Michelle is.
I am, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at michelle.stclair. You can also find Unerased at -18youth on Instagram and unerased.tv on TikTok. Or you could also find Moldoga's music video for Boyfriend on YouTube and whatever else I usually plug. And you know what? Go donate to Palestine. Do it. It's a good thing to do. I think based on the opening, I want to make our stance clear.
And please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. As we've told you before, it really makes a difference.
Well, Abby, that was Piranha 3DD. What are we watching next week?
Well, next week, we are watching Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
Yeah, and we'll have
Very special guest.
a returning guest to once again talk about Street Fighter. I'm keen. I'm keen as hell. I want to find out about this Chun-Li character, huh?
Me too. I'm glad we're returning to
more.
the Street Fighter franchise.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like there's a lot of video games that pop up in this list.
Strange. Curious. Curious, it seems. I'm going to talk about how Cammy's trans again. I'm going to do it. I'm going to fucking do it.